Okay, so this is disease profiles. Um, I use this type of cards very often, and I started using it when I started learning about diseases. And I found it really good in teaching you to have a summary of a disease or a condition in your head and have a profile of it essentially. And the way it goes is you'll have the disease or the condition at the top. The pathophysiology is basically what goes wrong in the normal physiology. The causes or the causative organisms, depending on what you're studying, and the presentation, so signs and symptoms essentially, and how the patient might present to you, and later on investigations. So if you're suspecting this disease, then what sort of blood tests would you order? What imaging would you order? And that sort of thing. And then management, basically, what medications would you give? What referrals would you do, or any operations, or whether it's self-resolving, that sort of thing. Of course, I'll show you some examples of some actual cards, but I'm just showing you the basic structure of it. And in the extra, I basically never leave it empty. So I either add some exam tip that someone told me about this disease, and I always try to include a picture. And if I use any abbreviations or tests that are not very clear, I sometimes include them here in the notes. Something that I've started to use to add recently is that wherever I get my information from, whether it's a website like BMJ Best Practice or Zero to Finals or any website that I study from, I include a link here from the page that I got the information from, so I can always go back to if I want to do more reading. Okay. Um, So let's go and see some examples of some cards that I actually have, and we will start with shingles. So I've used shingles in a video before. So it's caused by uh, organism, so varicella zoster, and the clinical features of it, what complications it could lead to, and the management. Okay, so I didn't include pathophysiology here because it's not as relevant, at least in my head. And so this is what it would look like. The reason why I've been asked before, why do you use the X? The reason why I put X's is because when you review the answer, it will separate out the different categories because it's a lot of text. Okay, and these are the notes. Just talks about the virus, and it's actually an reactivation of uh, the chickenpox virus that affects children, and this is a picture of what it would look like. Okay, another example, rhabdomyolysis. So pathophysiology causes presentation, investigations, and mismanagement with fluids. And again, it's a similar sort of thing. Now, some people might find that this is a lot of text and a lot of information to remember in one card, which is understandable. I don't tend to find it a lot of information because I've done the card enough times that I just go for a quick run through all these different things. But if you think this is a lot, you can always edit it. So if you click on edit, so I press E, um, and it will open the card to be edited. Um, and essentially what you would do is you would, for example, highlight, let's say, from investigations downwards to management, or let's take a bigger portion, and you can cut it out. So that will be in one card, and you go and add another card and put it in there. So So I'm basically splitting it into two cards if I find it that is one card is too large. Okay. Yes. So I'm just fixing that card to the way it was. Right. So another example is diabetes insipidus, and it's the same thing, same structure. And over here I have a picture about the water deprivation test that I do. Okay, that structure is a guide, so you can play around with it and modify it as you like. So over here I have a card about pneumonia. I don't necessarily have pathophysiology or causes or anything like that, but I have uh, different ways to classify it, severity assessment and investigations, and this is what it looks like. Okay, and over here, like I said, it's good practice to include a link for where you got this information from, so you can always go back and read more. And this is a screenshot that I took from a nice little summary. So fine. So this is the style of disease profile. Like I said, I found it really useful in getting a good idea about a disease or a condition. And you can modify it to do different things with it. Okay.